Yes.
Popped onto the screen that we are
great.
live. So
okay. I can't yet see it, but I'm glad to be back. I've been chatting a little bit before we got started here with Séverine Naessens, and she is a phenomenal woman who I met. She's the co-founder of the Sheepless Life Academy, which is how I met you.
Yes.
By doing that academy, by doing that those series of study periods and practice periods, modules or whatever they're called. But you are a parent talk trainer. Yes. And you are a co-founder of Sheepless Life Academy on that podcast, which is amazing. I really want to plug that because you and Yvonne Delafleur have just an amazing conversation and yes. Wonderful. But you've just recently been certified as a transcendental rebirth facilitator too.
Yes, I have, and it's been an amazing journey. And as we were speaking just now, say hi to everyone.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here, and Dr. Jeanne, thank you so much for inviting me again. It's such a pleasure. These conversations with you and to the world are so much fun and bliss, and it's such a blessing to be able to share. And as we started our path together through the Sheepless Life courses before the Academy, actually out of the second one is when the Academy came up, and I was able to found the Academy with Yvonne to bring the teachings of the Sheepless Life Academy forward. And part of that, part of those teachings is what I want to share with you all today, because that is what brought me to be able to engage in a new relationship. I actually got married this year. So I'm pretty much in my honeymoon stage still. It's been 6 months. So that's what I want to share with you. And also the teachings of transcendental rebirthing with Yvonne Delafleur have given me more tools to work on myself and on my family as a whole. Starting, the principle is that everything begins and ends with you. So if I work on myself, automatically I am working on those around me, especially my daughter. She's 11 now, so she's growing into a young lady. So doing the work as a woman has a lot of impact, starting with our own family. And I mean, you are a great example of that with your family. And so, yes, I'm excited. I'm absolutely excited.
Well, I love the topic for today, which is giving love and marriage a second chance. And this is something obviously very near and dear to my heart because I did. And it went so well, and so it's so great to see someone like live principles. I think it's pretty stellar what you're creating with your husband and your daughter, and it's beautiful. So whatever you want to share on that, because people need to hear.
Well, I think it's important to be aware that for starters, as I was thinking about what to share with everyone today, I came across the realization, it kind of all the little pieces came together that when I first married, I was 28. I wasn't really young at that stage. It was my first marriage, and it lasted that relationship lasted for 10 years. So it was not a short in and out situation. But as I entered that stage in my life, what I did is I got married to the idea of marriage because of the family situation, because of what my parents have had as a marriage. They after 32 years they separated. So I do come from a steady home, if you wish. My whole childhood, I had both my parents with me, but it was, I think as any relationship, there were issues and it was not the picture perfect situation we see on TV. You have these movies about the perfect relationships and you have The cartoons that little girls watch about perfect relationships and the prince coming in and sweeping you off your feet and taking you into a magical future, because it's a magical future. It's not a reality. And we grow up with that idea. And also, there's a Chilean psychologist, and she has these talks. And one of the topics that she shared, and I want to share with you, is that all women, we marry the ideal man. The ideal man that knows when to bring flowers. The ideal man to know when we need a hug. The ideal man that knows exactly what we want to eat when we want to eat it. The ideal man that knows exactly everything we want as women. The only problem is that ideal man, well, he doesn't really, he's not a psychic. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if we don't tell them. So that is how I got into that first marriage. And we had a great, fun relationship. And then we had a child, and then things changed. And I was not able, on my part, I mean, that is my responsibility as a woman. I was not able to tell him what I needed him to do to support me, to help me through. I mean, giving birth to a kid is not just any occasion. It's a big one, and it's a life-changing one. But I was not able to express my fears. I was not able to express my needs. I was not able to express what I wanted. And on the other hand, he wasn't able to express his fears, his needs. We were completely on different pages. And that is where that marriage really derailed, because we had no communication. It wasn't a marriage of ideals where we both thought that this would just work. It would just happen. It would just, you get married and then poof, it happens, right? and those of you that have been through a situation like that, I mean, we've all been through relationships that didn't work out. And then everybody figures out, hopefully someday, why. And taking that responsibility for me was very important. And in the lapse of more than 6 years that I was single, in between marriages, literally, I came to understand that if I want a relationship, be it a friendship, relationship with my daughter, relationship with a man, relationship with my family, if I want that to work, we need to be able to express our feelings, our needs, our wants, our frustrations, our fears. The whole set of emotions needs to be communicated on both ends, whatever the relationship is, because we end up supposing things. We end up figuring it out for the other one. Ooh, that's a big one. I know what's happening to you because in my experience, but they're not in my head. They're not in my skin. So I need to be able to communicate that. And the other one needs to be really willing and able to listen. And same here, I need to be willing and able to listen to what my partner, my daughter, my family has to say. And one of the things that we learned in what I learned in the academy, in the Sheepless Life Academy, is not to judge. Leave that judge hat out. Because if I start judging others, I take away the opportunity for them to express themselves. I take away the opportunity for them to go through their emotions in their way, and everybody has a very particular way of dealing with stuff. I mean, depending on so many factors as a human being, we're such complex beings. And understanding myself, my own emotions, has led me to give love a second chance, to give marriage a second chance. Everybody around me thought I was going completely nuts for saying yes to marriage after such a short relationship. I mean, he proposed to me, my husband, my current husband, he proposed to me after a week of knowing me. And I said, well, listen, you may want to get to know this woman, because I mean, I'm kind of cute on the outside, but I have my demons, you know. I have my dark side, and I don't know if you're going to like me as much once you see that part of me. But luckily he does. he has given my dark side a chance, and so have I. But the fact is that what we spoke about last year, and I'd invite those who haven't seen the talk from last year, go back and listen to that one. But we spoke about being able to love again, and accepting love again is first starts with us. Being able to love ourselves deeply, unconditionally, is the very first step to creating a relationship, because I cannot step into a relationship if I do not love myself in an unconditional way, and if I do not give myself the opportunity in an unconditional way.
That is such a great point. Our relationships are limited to the relationship that we have with ourselves.
Yes. And it takes guts, and it takes patience, and it takes a lot of inner work, and it takes a lot of listening and understanding where the other one comes from. And that is, I've been really blessed with the teachings that have come to me, and with studying. I've been digging into coaching and in psychology, because I wanted to understand my own mess. But when you understand your own framework, if you wish, you're able to step into a relationship with another and understand in some way. I mean, it's quite impossible to understand another person completely, because I haven't figured out myself yet, 100%. But I do have the opportunity to be present. And one of the things that, being Christmas and all, this year we decided not to have a huge dinner with friends and family and whatnot. We've decided just to stay home. We had a pajama party, and we were present. And the biggest gift of all is that presence, the honest conversations, the non-posing, just take off all the masks and just be yourself. And we were in our pajamas having a good time. We had a lovely dinner, and we watched a movie, and it was just such a gift to be present. And that is something I did not have in my first marriage. That was one of the things that I had on my list, that if I ever step into a serious relationship again, this is one of the key things for me to be present, for me to also be taken in consideration, to be listened to and to listen, to be aware. And it's a consciousness thing, you know, and lots of things. I mean, consciousness is a modern theme, and it's one of these hot topics, but it is really important that if we are fully conscious of who we are and how we step into a relationship, and we allow the other one to do the same, and we help the others to do the same, because we're not all on the same level or track or speed in consciousness. I mean, we fluctuate, and I have more conscious days and then unconscious days too. I mean, I go back and forth. It's not just because we're doing the work or we've done some work that we're good, we're cool, we're always fine. We're not. We have our bad days, and we have our judgmental days, and then we have our beat yourself up days. And I mean, I have all of those. I don't know about you, Dr. Jeanne, but I do.
Sure.
I think most of us do. So giving ourselves the opportunity to be honest and to step into a relationship, being really clear on what we want and how we want it, and also speaking out our wishes, our needs, our frustrations. I have tons of conversations with my husband, and we talk a lot. And I think that's good. But we talk a lot about essential things. We talk a lot about what I need today is for the whole household to leave me in peace, because I'm having a really bad day, I'm mad, and I'm going to go for a walk. Yeah. And I know I do not want anyone to come along with me. And they understand that, and they respect that. And then I can go out and do my thing. Or yes, well, you know what? Today, right now, I need a hug. And there's no questions asked. I get the hug, and then we talk about why. You know, it's these subtle but really important key elements of communication and consciousness, being conscious within a relationship. And let be marriage. I mean, the marriage came along and we had a big party and we had a big celebration and we made our vows really clear to each other because we wanted to. It's not an obligation. It's not something, it has to happen because society says so. It is something that you have to really want. It is something that comes from a desire from within, because oftentimes people step into a marriage because the family asks to, because the society thinks it's the right thing to do, because their religion obliges them to follow a certain path, and then they are stuck and they're miserable and they have a hard time finding a way out or for fixing things. So stepping into a new relationship with my new husband, he's pretty brand new still, is a really powerful, it's a very powerful relationship, and he's done his work and we are both doing our work constantly. And I think, well, doing the work is a constant thing. The day I stop working on myself, I think, is the day that I leave. I leave the planet, because it's the constant evolution of humankind. And it's such a blessing to feel loved. It's a real, I feel really fortunate that I have this second. I have been given the opportunity, and I have actually taken that chance, and I've taken that opportunity and made it my own. And we understand that if we have difficulties in our marriage, because like any relationship, we both have good days, bad days. And as a couple, we also have our issues and struggles, because we come from completely different backgrounds. I mean, even though you come from the same town and you've come from the same church and same upbringing, there are differences because we're different people. But the key to this is the consciousness and the communication, especially, and being brave enough to say what's going on. Because oftentimes, and I see that a lot with women, we tend to keep it to ourselves, not to hurt the other one or not to hurt the children, or so that nobody knows. Because if we do speak about certain things, certain issues, what will the other say? What will society or family think of me? I've chucked that out of the house, and I've opted for clear communication about the good stuff and the bad stuff. Because if you don't speak about it, you keep it in, and we build up so many things by not saying them, by not expressing them, that it become health issues, mental health issues, physical health issues. I mean, so many people battling with diseases. If you look at the psychological part of it, it's because they've been keeping things, or they've been not been able to speak about what's going on in their mind, in their heart, in their soul. And the body will absorb it and make something really nasty out of it. Yeah. So we've opted for talking a lot.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That
so awesome. Yes,
well, that's wonderful. I have two questions for you. The first one's kind of related to what you talked about. So when you were, when you said that within a week of when you went out on your first date with your husband, he knew that he wanted to marry you. Okay. And obviously he told you this. Yes. And, so going into that, were you, did you already know that you wanted to give, lifelong love or marriage a second chance? Did you already know that? Was that already an awareness inside of you, or was it a surprise when it arrived?
It was a surprise for me to receive a proposal like that so fast. I did open up myself. I had opened up to the opportunity of a relationship and the opportunity of having a long-lasting relationship. Not necessarily, I did not think about marriage. It was not a priority to me to get married again. It was a priority to me to find stability, to find harmony, to find balance. And him coming into my life, I mean, our story, if I have time, I'll tell you our incredible story about why he was so sure after a couple of days. He was actually sure before meeting me, but I'll tell you about that. Marriage was not on my priority list, but the other things were. And it kind of came naturally to say yes to the marriage because it's something that for him was important. Mm-hmm. And I could see that even though to me, marriage as such, it's just a legal document and it's a party and it's vows. It was not for me, the ceremonial thing was not necessary. However, for him, it was because of who he is and his beliefs. So I got it. I understood and I said yes. And I said yes immediately. That's why everybody, especially my family, said, "Well, are you okay? Are you sure you want to do this?" And yes, I was very sure. The reason why is let me go back in time. About 6 months before we met, 8 months before we met, I was in a retreat and I did a special work on asking the universe for what I wanted. So I wrote in detail, I want a partner, and that partner will be like this. It's 4 pages long, okay? I went into detail, very specifically into detail. So I said, "Hey, universe, here goes." And I let go of it. You know, you ask for it and then you let go. And then the universe figures it out, right? 6 months before we met, he had a dream. And he had a dream about me, not knowing me. He was in Miami, in the States. I'm in Cancun. We'd never met. However, he had a second dream about a friend, a mutual friend of ours, introducing us to each other. So what he did, he called that friend, and that friend lives in Cancun and happens to be my friend of over 12. I've known this guy for more than 12 years. But I didn't know. I was not in the scoop there. So as time passes, but that friend didn't think, he told about the dream. He told him about the dream and he said, "Well, yeah, you're pretty nuts. Those dreams are yours, right?" And after a couple months, he said, "Oh, I have a friend I'd like you to meet. She's a diver and you've got similar interests, and she's an entrepreneur and she does financial stuff and so on and so on." So he arranged for a meeting. And as he arranged for the meeting, as he saw me, he said, "That's it. She's the woman I had the dream about." Wow. So that is why he knew. I mean, it sounds completely crazy, but it makes total sense. Because it is what we have both asked for. And when I met him, I went back to that list I wrote because I have it in a journal. And I went back to my journal and I go, "Oh dear. Oh, okay. Check. And I kept on checking. There was only a couple of details that were kind of off. But I went like, okay, this is pretty much the universe telling me, "Girl, this is what you've asked for. Here's your opportunity." So that's why we went in, both of us, and we gave ourselves a second chance. We gave love a second chance. We gave marriage another chance. I mean, he's been married before and he has had his experiences as well. And the good thing is about having other experiences that you learn from your mistakes. You understand what went wrong. You dig into what went wrong without going into a blame rant. Yes. The other one did this and that and that. And okay, the other one did his or her stuff.
To glean. You're doing it to glean. To just...
What have I done? Yes. What have I done? What have I done to mess it up? What have I done to make it right? Where can I improve my own behavior or circumstances? And to me, it was all about clarity, all about communication and about being really present, being here and understanding, giving the other person the opportunity to express and explain as well. Because oftentimes I don't know, somebody gets mad and we suppose that they're mad because of whatnot. And instead of supposing, I ask, is there any particular reason why you told me this particular thing? Oh, yeah, well, you know what? I had a phone call with my mom and blah, 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 blah. And there's a whole story behind it. And if we don't ask, we just suppose it's personal and we take it personal.
Yes.
So I've learned to not take things personal, because 99% of the time it is not personal. 99% of the situations, it's because there's something lingering in their mind, something from their past, something other bothering them, and they just didn't have the time to focus on what's at hand, and they just, something blurted out and we took it personal, and then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's a mess. So yes,
well, I love the emphasis on communication. That's an under-discussed topic these days, so that's awesome. Really good stuff.
We all talk a lot, and there's a lot of ways to speak. But I've learned that also with my daughter, it's important to speak your truth, speak from the heart, and speak your truth, and allow the others to say their truth, even though that truth is uncomfortable sometimes. Because it's not all roses and moonshine. I mean, there's a lot of things. We're very complicated beings. And very interesting beings. I mean, I love it. We're so complex. It's a mystery. There's only so many layers I've been able to peel back on myself, let be on others. But it's such an interesting thing to allow the others to communicate. And if we can put our topics on the table and look at them from a non-judgmental perspective, you deal with things in such an easy way that there's no more drama, there's no more shouting, there's no more, what do you call them, soap operas going on in the house. So
in wrapping up, I've been asking every one of the contributors this question. So relating to what you've discussed today, let's say that there is someone listening now, or they're going to listen to the replay, and they're at a point where they've contemplated it and then maybe backed away, contemplated, a long-term relationship at the minimum, and then backed away, like to really believe like a second chance or a third chance at love. Can you just give me one or two things that they could do, they could start to implement right now to move them in the direction of kind of that truth for them, that's something that they desire?
What was helpful for me is to come clean and come clear with myself on what I really wanted. That's a first thing. Be really clear and clean out my own mess. And that may take a while. And sometimes you may need space in between relationships, because if you just came out of a relationship that didn't work, you're tormented, you're frustrated, you have so many emotions going on that if you step into a second relationship, you're taking all of that stuff, not to say another word, you're taking all of that you're taking the garbage from a former relationship into a new relationship. So get rid of the garbage first. Clean house here. Clean out yourself. Give yourself the opportunity to be with the most important person in the universe, yourself. It all starts and ends with you. So if you do your own work first, then once you're clear, and I mean, I'm not saying that I got rid of all of my garbage. I'm still dragging some pieces and bits with me because they're very well kept. They're very well on the inside. However, the main bulk of it is gone. And that is when it was clear to me what I want. And that's something that you may want to write it down in a journal. What do you really want in a relationship? What do you want? What kind of a partner are you looking for? Allow yourself to come clean on that, because sometimes we don't even know. Well, I want someone next to me, okay, but how do you want that someone to be? What specifics do you want that person to have? What values? What core essences do you want that person to have and represent? What is it you are really looking for? Don't write down what you don't want, because you're going to get exactly that. Write down what you really want and go back. I mean, that list of 4 pages was like the 10th list I've made. And I started out with about this long. Oh, well, I want this, this, and that. And then I had a relationship, didn't work out. Okay, I forgot to add all of that. And then I started adding things and tweaking my petition. Tweaking, it's like being Christmas and all. Write that letter to Santa Claus, but with all the specific details. You don't just write down, I want a doll. You want a doll with blue eyes, blonde hair. She must be about this big. She has to have this kind of clothes. Kids are really good at that, at asking what they specifically want. Let's be specific. And I think with those 2 things, getting rid of all the garbage and working on yourself and get that trash out. Your own trash has to be clean, and ask the same of the other person. Make sure that the person you're standing with, you're starting a relationship with, is not carrying trash from 1, 2, 3, 4, how many relationships, and his or her parents, and his or her ancestors. Make sure, if you want to have a harmonious relationship, you're with someone on the same page. Sort of. I mean, exactly the same page is difficult, but you want to be as much in balance and communicate specifically. And what I've right from the beginning, I actually told him, this is on my list, this, and this. Do you think that you're up for all these? He said, yeah, I'm good. And I have these on my list. Are you up for it? Yes. Okay, cool. We have a deal. We made an agreement. It was not just, oh, I got swept off my feet. I kind of did, but I got back on my feet real fast and said, whoa, one moment. These are the conditions to come with sweeping me off my feet. You can do that again, but these are the conditions. And that's being clear.
That's awesome.
Really.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop in today and share from your experience and your wisdom. So good. So good. We're going to sign off for this segment, and you can, if you're watching the replay, please post comments. We'll be monitoring them. We'll also let you know how to reach Séverine.
Sure.
And if you'd like to communicate with her directly. But goodbye for now. We'll see you in another little bit.